Welcome, everyone, to this week's Take Charge of Your Life discussion, where we talk about how to live healthy, live empowered, and live free. I am one of your hosts, Tish Taylor from Growth Centric Living. I'm a mindset trainer and a personal transformation guide, and this is my co-host, Roberta.
Hey, everyone. Yes, I am a holistic health practitioner and I do quantum nutrition testing and am also with Tish, a Elite Mentorship trainer. So our focus is on mind, body, and soul wellness and really transforming in every area of our life so that we can live that, much more dynamic, fulfilled, and better life.
As Roberta said, we're both certified Elite Mentorship trainers, and we got this certification under our mentor, Mr. Peter Sage. He is from the United Kingdom, a world-renowned human behavior and self-mastery sort of expert. He's been on 6 times TED Talk speaker. He's a best-selling author and has shared stages with the likes of Richard Branson and even won some global awards with the likes of Nelson Mandela. So our plan here today is to show you a clip of his so that you can get to know him as well as we have as well in your growth and in your transformation. And then we're going to break down his small little video into our version and give you 3 tips. One on how to live healthy in your body, how to live empowered in mindset, and how to live free with your soul.
Excellent. So today our video reel from Peter is entitled Humility, the Fast Track to Authenticity. So we'll be diving into how to show up authentic rather than, maybe like some of us have with masks or trying to impress or doing something that's not truly who we are. So this will be a fun opportunity to dig into that and give us some freedom around that and some relief. So here it is. Oops. I have to share my screen first. Oh, I'm on the wrong side of the
People often ask me, what is the fast track to authenticity? Well, apart from stopping being inauthentic, which is really letting go of patterns of limitation or fear or judgment or the good opinion of other people, and all of that work that's required on self, one of the fastest ways to become authentic and raise consciousness is through humility. And Mother Teresa put it beautifully. She said, when you are humble, nothing can touch you, neither praise nor disgrace, because you know who you are. And I see people that are humble coming from a place of nothing to defend, nothing to conquer, nothing to prove. They just show up as a beautiful soul as to who they are, with no hidden agenda, just going through life from a place of focusing their love outward, from a place of overflow, because they've mastered it on the inside. Humility is not needing the need for significance. It's raising the significance of others from a true place.
All right, so if we break that down, the first thing I want to kind of address there actually was at the end of the video under Live Empowered and Mindset. And he did talk about how living authentic has a lot to do with your own inner work. And we certainly talk about that in some other videos, but ultimately what that comes down to is loving on yourself first, filling your own cup and truly loving you for exactly who you are so that you can then love on others from an overflow with that excess of love. Under mindset, it also means, it means having a high self-esteem, okay, which relates to that self-love, relates to that confidence, okay, while keeping a low view of self-importance. And that's really where his humility tip comes in. Is somebody who's humble has a low self-importance. They aren't thinking that they are better than anyone else, regardless of where they're at. They're not trying to prove things to others, as he's discussing. They're just truly loving themselves. They have that confidence, that high self-esteem, but look more to raise the importance of others, which is what Peter talks about in playing that game of raising the significance of others. So if you find yourself stuck in yourself in, what should I do? How can I do better? Giving yourself that kind of extra importance, the best way that he's providing in this video to regain focus in your authentic self is through humility, and then by looking instead towards others and how can I raise their significance, which is really how can I increase their value or make them feel valued? How can I make them feel important? How can I increase their confidence? And it's important to do that without any expectations, just from a true, unconditional love overflow kind of way. So some examples would be, giving compliments, engaged focus, even when you're talking to somebody. It's amazing how eye contact and seeking to truly understand somebody can make them just feel so special, so heard, so important, alive in your life. And I am teaching in my other world, sales and negotiations, and we're talking exactly about this, about how conflict would be so much easier if we truly sought to understand people. Without like looking for a way to talk back, which most of us tend to do, which is the opposite of humility. So, and just finding other ways that you can make people feel good.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Thanks, Tish. I think as you were talking, I think of humility of, like you said, if we're focused on ourselves all the time, which I was for years because I had such low self-esteem. So it was always every day it was like, how do I get through the day? And I'm always hyper vigilant to see what people are thinking and doing around me, how they're looking at me, always wondering if I'm saying the right thing or comparing, just that comparison that really was started in our younger years in a peer setting where everything was comparison through school and high school. And now social media, it's a really kind of brutal ground for, comparison of everyone's psyche, to really be constantly compared to what you have, what you don't have, and what you look like. And when I really feel like I got into my authentic self, I was actually like close to 50 years old. And I remember thinking that humility to me meant being very honest about who I really am. Who I am, who I'm not. Like, I'm not more than I am, but I'm not less than I am. I just, am that version of me that's just okay right here, right now. And really coming to that definitive, understanding, awareness, acceptance, whatever you want to say, to not be, either I was judging people as greater than me or less than me, so judgment either way was always positioning myself. And it took a lot of energy to be something that wasn't real. And always trying to position and move around instead of just showing up and being who I was. So yeah, through the growth and transformation process, this is really speaks dearly to my heart. It's just such a freedom and a relief to be who I am. Like we talked last week, all the flowers in the garden are beautiful. There's no comparison, we're just who we are.
Yeah, those flaws last week, we talked about how they can be our secrets, right? Our secret superpowers, etc. If we can learn to accept ourselves. And that's really part of the work of self-love. And humility can't come until after that, till we accept ourselves for, who we are. And so I really love Peter's tip here, because this is something that has always helped me in, being able to look outside myself, instead of thinking about what are people thinking about me, how can I, make them think about them? How can I let them know that I'm thinking about them by playing this game of raising the significance of others? And I like to do that from an authentic place. I try to do things from my own authentic place, in that, not arbitrary compliments of, hey, you look pretty, or I like your hair, right? Something that truly kind of comes from my heart. And for me, you can see, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I got some heart things on. I love to find clothes that are of heart things. So one of the ways, I guess, that I play this game in my real life is to, anytime I find somebody who is wearing any kind of heart things, heart pants, heart shirts, jewelry, a high clip, it doesn't matter what it is. I just make sure that I stop them and, try to look them in the eyes and be like, I really love that. That's so nice that you found that. And sometimes, often, even as children, I'm like, oh, I wish I made it in my size. Like, I'm jealous. That looks so cute. And just the look on their face and the smile of just being noticed by a stranger. It really doesn't matter what you're pointing out, but is a great way for, my heart to speak to their heart, and, feeling like we're two souls in this moment, just enjoying something or having something in common.
And I think the world is dying to be seen and heard and to matter in our culture. And so I just think about that even when I go places. I energetically think about how I want to show up and how I want to give people energetically what they might need, whether that's respect or honor or just a listening ear or a compliment or a smile, and just being proactive so that I get out of the old habit of just thinking about how to, take care of myself in each situation. How can I show up and give, like Peter said, that overflow of love that comes out of us, because we all have it in us, and sometimes we just have it maybe hindered by some of these inauthentic programs and behaviors and beliefs that are keeping us at our lowest, presence. We're not giving our full self to the world, so we're kind of hiding. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing to be able to show up and be who we truly are. It's such a relief. It's so much more fun, to show up and just be who we are. It's so easy.
We'll talk about the freedom piece a little bit more when we get down to our soul tips. But for now, we encourage you that if you do find yourselves wearing masks and sort of looking more at, struggling to be humble and figure out, instead focusing on what things you want to change and what you think is wrong with you or what other people are thinking, then our tip is to encourage you to play the game of raising others' significance. Compliment strangers that you see on the street. Be authentic about it, right? Don't say you like something if you don't truly enjoy what it is or like something. Sometimes even seeing acts of kindness and those kinds of things is a great way to play this game. And we encourage you to do that as much as possible in order to practice some of your own humility, which puts you back into your authentic self.
Beautiful. I have a quote for that. And that quote is, "Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less," by C.S. Lewis. I thought that kind of brought it home very well.
Beautiful.
So,
Well,
yeah, that leads us to our next section, which is the live healthy part of our framework. We're focusing on the physical body. So humility actually restores our nervous system back into balance. Like I said, I was so stressed trying to be something I wasn't, and that my body is affected by that, and it remembers everything I do. So if over many months and years I was tense around every situation or people in that comparison game, my body kept the score and learned to respond that way everywhere I went. So it's like a vicious cycle. And so when I drop into humility, my nervous system gets to relax, and it's out of that stress-based performance mode of like nothing to prove, like Tish said. We can just give our body permission. We almost have to consciously think about it in a somatic way, which is when we're feeling the sensations of our body and the experiences of our body that are happening because it's programmed. We can just become aware of that, stop and think about it, and take that deep breath. Or like I have to remind myself sometimes when I'm going to the gym or something to play in the league, it's like there's some sense of, sometimes anxiety a little bit, like, oh, it's going to be competitive and I better be on my game. And then I just stop and I think, I'm not going to make this about me. I'm going to make it about how can I, like I said, give myself to someone and focus on what they might need instead. And that's just it's been a huge help to train my system not to be caught up in that energetic feeling of, anticipating something kind of stressful. I don't have to prove my worth or maintain a certain persona. I just get to show up and be who I am. So that's just helped my body, coming from a, post-traumatic stress response environment for so many years. It's like such a relief for the physical body to not live in inauthenticity.
I'm sure lots of us have had different experiences where you get those senses and those messages from the body of angst, etc., which really is about us not, being authentic and not living up to our true selves, or being worried that we won't in some way. And that feeling versus the feeling of, when you are truly accepted, or when you are in a space of, being able to be exactly who you are, what a different kind of sense that is within the body. And we're encouraging you guys really here to listen to that, to know that that's the humble and the state of really being you is where we want you to live and feel like that on a regular basis, where your body is able to be as healthy as possible and your nervous system is relaxed.
Yeah, it's funny because I think of Peter's first tip for us in the work that we've done with him is to stop being inauthentic is the first step to humility. Sounds so simple, like just quit being so inauthentic, right? But as we work through these processes and break through these limiting beliefs and patterns, our natural state arises, which is, the loving, abundant, joyful, beautiful souls that we are. There's nothing we have to fix or or make different. We just need to allow ourselves to arise and to remove those blocks that kept us feeling like we couldn't be ourselves, really. And so our tip for the physical body today is to practice somatic humility. So anything with the physical sensations of the body, to practice grounding in that into your body. So like I said, before an interaction or a decision, I would, I stop and I try to get present and focus on, for me, it helps me to focus on the other, what I'm going to give instead of what I'm going to get. That's a good way for me to ground and get out of focusing on how my body's, throwing me signals of worry or stress or whatever. So just breathing and saying internally is an example here. I do not need to be anything other than who I truly am right now. And when I, you can do that when you're sitting out in your car before you go in somewhere, just for 1 second. I don't need to be anything other than who I am. I'm tired of being inauthentic. I just want to be who I am. And notice that the posture will just soften, and we can just kind of, relax into that, that simple little, experience.
I love that. And I just feel the calming as I'm kind of doing it as you're saying it, the deep breath. I'm whole, I think was the words we used last week, and just wonderful tips. Okay, so that brings us into live free, which is the soul realm. And here I really want to concentrate on that saying of nothing to conquer, nothing to defend, nothing to prove, which is a big basis and was a game changer for me, learning again through Peter and our Elite Mentorship Program, where really this is about, knowing who you are and being able to be who you are confidently. This is true freedom from the soul realm. This freedom is exactly, to be exactly who you are at this moment in time, perceived flaws and all, knowing that there is not a need to change, but it's okay if you have an authentic desire to grow. Those are not the same thing. Those aren't coming from a place of lack, but instead coming from a place of curiosity and, like I said, authentic desire, like to be better at something. There's no need here for shame or regret or guilt, right? If we have nothing to defend, but it's also okay to have the grace and the knowing that through our mistakes, we'll grow and we will learn. Okay, it doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. It means we don't beat ourselves up for it. And no hidden requirement to measure up in this freedom realm of being authentic and humble and accepting of yourselves just who you are. Instead, you can experience the joy of feeling like you are who you were meant to be. Okay, regardless of what anybody else looks like beside you. So in humility and authenticity, as Mother Teresa, kind of put this same saying another way, nothing can touch us or motivate us, not praise nor disgrace. So we're not motivated to prove things to others and get those pats on the back. We're also not needing to defend or feel like we're conquering or coming from a place of lack under disgrace. We have nothing to conquer, nothing to defend, nothing to prove. We are magnificent just the way we are, exactly the way we are right now.
Yeah, when I think of the soul realm and I think of the spirit realm and just the quietness, that how I connect into my authentic place. Because when I'm connected to source energy or God or whatever we want to label that, I feel, my best, I guess, maybe. And I just feel like I matter. And like there's just that sense of I'm connected to something greater than myself. And I know that I feel like I'm insulting my creator if I think negatively about myself or have this whole list of, labels that I'm giving myself or that I've had from the past, and I'm just carrying around that says I'm not enough or something. And I then have to perform and be something else. And so getting into that quiet place, really listening to the whisper of the soul and not the ego, not the mind, quieting my mind and listening to what the spirit is trying to tell me, whether that's through journaling or, just self-reflection, saying some, writing down some gratitudes, because when I do that, I can reflect and remind myself, that the universe is providing beautiful things for me. And it just calms that whole soul part of me that, that doesn't want to trust sometimes or doesn't want to believe, because the outer world is looking a little bit shaky or scary. But when I get back into my soul, I can just be my authentic self. And I feel more empowered when I leave that space to show up authentically. Like I feel connected. I know who I am. It's all good, you know, and it just grounds me and centers me in that soul realm.
Thank you for that sharing of your experience, because that's one thing that I want to try to reiterate to our audience is that though this is a beautiful idea, we're not trying to suggest that it's easy. It does take continuous self-reflection. I do this regularly in my life at each of our stages, especially when I notice myself behaving in a way that starts to feel inauthentic, and you start to kind of, you know, like, hey, why am I sort of like posturing? Why did that sentence that somebody said offend, you know, me? Why do I feel like I need to be defensive in this moment? And I can try to come back to this saying and remind myself that, you know what, I have nothing to conquer, nothing to defend, nothing to prove. So then I can do some self-reflection in what is it that I think I'm trying to do in one of those areas. Is there some way that I can, you know, let that go and be more humble and accepting of myself and who I am right now? And that leads us then to our tip, where we encourage you to actually write this mantra, this nothing to conquer, nothing to defend, nothing to prove, either on your mirror or on a piece of paper. We actually have some of those coloring sheets. I think they're called like mandalas. Maybe, forgive me if I'm wrong and that's the wrong word, with the adult coloring books. We've created a couple of those that we will share one for you if you prefer that that setup, or in your own means, just somewhere that you'll see it and you can remind yourself on a regular basis that you are amazing, and true freedom comes from living into that authentic self and being who you are without trying to prove or shame or measure up to anything else.
Yeah, that is such a beautiful, definitive saying. Like when I first heard that, it's just like my whole nervous system relaxed. Like somebody gave me permission to stop to prove myself, because it was so definitive. Like, you have nothing to prove, you know. It's like, oh, never thought of it that way, you know, really in that context, the way it's been presented by Peter. And so such a huge shift in my life when I heard that. And so it's worth really getting that into our psyche and into our, you know, belief system.
I love that. It was like an awakening, right? Wait, I don't?
Yeah.
What have I been doing?
Yeah.
Truly how I've been living my life is trying to prove this to my boss and this to my parents and that you know, this to my kids. Just it's a constant that we sort of get wrapped up in, and so freeing to
I
be
found
able
that
to
I found that I was trying to prove things to myself. I was the last one I had to be free from. It was my own proving to myself, like I should be doing more. I should have gotten that done faster. I should be further along in this. You know, just that whole having to put myself on trial. So not having to prove myself to myself was my kind of like my final relief, you know, release step. So yeah, I can go into the summary just quickly and kind of recap what we talked about. So the mind, we talked about playing the game of raising the significance of others to make that our mindset and our focus, being a little more selfless and not so self-focused. The body, we talked about, when we drop into humility, the nervous system gets to relax, and that therefore we have, you know, just a better physical health platform, basically health status when we're in calm rather than stress. And then the soul, like Tish just said, nothing to prove, nothing to conquer, nothing to defend. So as Peter would say, we should tattoo that on our eyelids. And that would be a good one to do because it's just so life-changing, really, to really get that. And so as we close, we just want to invite you, you know, to step out and reach out to us. And if you're interested in working with us, if you feel stirred inside you, there's just this knowing that, you know, you're carrying around way too many things. As we talk about things, you might be getting awarenesses like, yeah, that's what I do. And I'm, you know, yeah, why am I wasting so much of my time and energy doing that? So we just really want to invite you to walk with us through the Elite Mentorship Forum. We just help people, you know, we just take people and kind of hold their hands and walk through this. How do I describe EMT? It was more for me like a deep lasting change. Like it was something that absolutely creates a definitive whole different model of the world. And So being able to see people grow through that and then come out and for the rest of your life having a completely different way of showing up, that's so much more dynamic and so much more enjoyable than the one we're probably, doing right now with that less awareness.
Yeah, if you feel tied to this, and especially I think there are so many people in today's society that feel like they're not measuring up or are struggling with self-love and authenticity, then this is a whole module within our EMF program. This is our signature program, and we spend 2 full weeks giving you actionable steps in order to elicit solid change. And again, this is only going to be one module of the entire program. So if you're curious about it, please reach out. We would love to have a free call with you in order to discuss what else might be included, or even for this module alone, it was worth its weight in gold to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, you don't have to figure this out alone, and you don't have to wear masks anymore. So that's the freedom that's awaiting for anyone who dives into this and does that transformational process. And so with that, I'll end with a quote that really ties into all that we've shared. It says, "The more I release the mask, the more I remember the masterpiece that I am."
Well, that's it for us for today. We'll see all of you masterpieces on our next call.
Thank you.